Hello, dear passengers. This is your captain speaking, and we are about to take off for another episode of Adventurina. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of your favorite travel podcast, Adventurina. It's been a minute, but the last few months have been pretty crazy over here. I don't even know where to start from. There's so many updates, there's so many things happening, but I think the highlight is still the launch of my first ever physical product, Wonder Jar. Some of you know that back in September, I released the ultimate guide to less popular places in San Francisco, all fit in a jar. That's right, you heard it right. 113 less popular places in San Francisco ready for you to explore them. The places are divided into 8 categories, such as nature and outdoors, dates, food and dining, city views, entertainment, one-day getaway, hidden gems, and touristy stuff. Wonder Jar is color coded, so each category has its own color. When you decide what type of adventure you're in a mood in, you just see which color reflects it and you pull out a piece of paper with the same color from the jar. That's it. On the little piece of paper, you will see the name of your place along with a QR code. When you scan it, it's going to take you to a dedicated page with detailed information about the spot. It's not going to spoil it for you, but it's going to give you enough for you to be prepared before going. Wonder Jar is something that I have put a lot of time, effort, energy, and hope in, and I really cannot wait for you guys to rediscover San Francisco through it. And here's the moment to say thank you for all your orders and all your support. It was truly amazing to see how many people loved it. I also feel honored that I got to dedicate something I created myself to my favorite place in the world, San Francisco. Anyway, before I get too emotional, I would like to say that today it's not going to be just you and me, guys. I know, we haven't had a long time for a while, but I promise you, you're going to love this one. I think I've talked about this before on the podcast. I think it was the very first episode, the pilot. Travel talk is the best way to break the ice and make things better if the situation is awkward. I can never be bored if I'm listening to someone sharing their trips and experiences. And that's exactly what happened during this episode. I was honored to sit with someone who has more than 30 years of trips and experiences to share with us. Someone who has been to all 7 continents, to more than 100 countries, many of them multiple times. Someone who has worked their way through the operational side of travel, studied including time at Cornell, climbed to leadership, even CEO of a company, and then founded his own Operator focused on small groups and private expeditions that runs 74 destinations worldwide. I repeat, 74. This someone is Jorge Salas-Guevara. Jorge is the founder and president of New Paths Expeditions, a US-based luxury travel operator specializing in small group and private journeys to remote destinations worldwide. Africa, Asia, Australia, South and Central America, Europe, the Arctic, Antarctica, everywhere. With more than 30 years in the travel industry and expeditions in over 100 countries, Jorge has developed and led journeys across some of the planet's most challenging landscapes, such as Patagonia and Papua New Guinea, while also collaborating with governments, non-governmental organizations, investors, and local businesses to develop destinations, lodges, hotels, and expedition cruises. He's a lifelong advocate for conservation. He has led initiatives ranging from reforestation and clean water projects to training local people as guides, an approach that continues to shape his company, New Paths Expeditions, today. He is also a published wildlife and travel photographer by the Smithsonian, World Wildlife Fund, Forbes, Nature Conservancy, and has lectured at Smithsonian venues and international travel conferences. Jorge's career reads like a map of the world. Peru to Patagonia, the Amazon to Papua New Guinea. He has spent decades shaping expedition travel with a focus on safety, cultural respect, and slow, meaningful experiences. He has been returning to Papua New Guinea for 30 years, and he's an honorary member of 2 clans there. Also, he has spent a huge amount of time in the Amazon, approximately 400 weeks, and he has ran 5 Amazon ships. Jorge believes that expedition travel is about slowing down and experiencing culture, nature, and history holistically. Now a single parent to Josefina, who I believe is 12 or 13 years old, Jorge blends work and parenting, teaching his daughter to travel responsibly and showing her the world. In this episode, he walks us through the moments that launched him, the lessons that kept him grounded, and why Papua New Guinea and Patagonia still take his breath away. Guys, I cannot wait to share this episode with you. I give you Jorge Salas-Guevara. Jorge, welcome to Adventurina, and thank you so much for taking the time to be a guest on the show.
Thank you so much. It's a true pleasure to be here, and thank you to everyone that could be watching or listening.
Appreciate it. For my listeners who don't know you, have no idea who you are, maybe, would you please introduce yourself, tell us where you're from, what you do, and how you got yourself into it?
Thank you. So, of course. Well, my name is Jorge Salas-Guevara. That's a long name, Jorge Salas. And I am originally from Peru, but started working in Patagonia 33 years ago in tourism as a hiking and mountain, the trekking guide and mountain guide. And then little by little, I started to move. And very soon, I started to work with some of the leading companies in the US, on which, to make short a long career, I've done most of things in the operational side of travel. And I worked for some of the leading brands in the US and got to their board. I eventually became a CEO of one of them. And about 13 years ago, I decided to open my own operator, which was the dream. And had a little daughter. That was the push. And of course, I reached an age that it was the time to do it. And we did. And gladly things went well. Now I have New Paths Expeditions, and we run expeditions in small groups and private trips to remote destinations. That's how we started with Ethiopia, Papua New Guinea, Madagascar, which areas that I had expertise. But now we do 68 destinations so far. And by the end of this month, we are launching several new ones, and we should be reaching 74 countries in which we operate at the moment.
That's amazing. So, can you walk us through how you decided to get into expeditions in general and maybe how you started traveling, what sparkled the whole thing?
Well, it's how it started. I think it was my grandfather when I was very young. My grandfather, he used to work for the United Nations in those years. That United Nations, that was a long time ago. I'm 53, and we will go to the airport and see him fly all the time. He was coming and going all the time. And I always wondered about where he was going, and he was really traveling the world. He visited every country more than once. And he gave me as a gift his collection, a National Geographic collection, and gave me his old ones. And
what an amazing present.
Yes, it was amazing. So I remember being very young saying, I want to be a National Geographic photographer. And I think that's what pushed it. My father, on the other side, he also traveled quite a bit in South America and to the US. So the road trips, they fascinated me. So I started doing trekking and rock climbing very young. I went to study to Chile. And Chile, they have Patagonia down south. And my best friend, he's from that area. And we started to go and get jobs as waiters and for restaurants in the old Patagonia, very few tourists. And it was fantastic. So we could rock climb some of the best places, one of the best places in the world, basically for free. So that's how we started doing this. And one time, leader for one of the big companies in the US of the time, he got sick. I had a little bit better English, and I was already a guide for this hotel. This was the second or third year that we went. So we were very young, but we were guides for hiking. And he got sick, this leader, and he asked me if I could take his group, which I did. I was very, very young. And I'm glad it worked. And they loved they liked what I did. So this company called me, and I started working for them since then. And then little by little, started to work with another, and as a freelancer. And eventually, I became the staff of one of them, which was bought by a big corporation. So started to moving that over the ladder, studied a little bit more, went to Cornell, took a break, went to Cornell, and then and that's how it all started rolling. But I think the passion was started by those National Geographic, and I have not been published yet, or not been published by National Geographic, but by other publications like Smithsonian
There's
and
still
World
a lot of
Wildlife
time,
Fund.
so
So yes,
it's coming.
hopefully.
Yeah, that's amazing. And just to think of how it kind of runs through your family, like from your grandfather to your father, now down to you. Uh, I I think this experience from like our parents or our grandparents is what initially sparks, the love of
Correct.
traveling in a lot of people. And it's amazing how you manage to turn it from a hobby, from something you love, to a job, like to something you do for a living. What do you remember from your first expedition? Do you remember where it was? Do you remember how you felt? Like, what kind of memories do you have from this first experience?
Well, I started very young. And the first one was this one that I had to take over from this wonderful leader that sadly he's no longer
Yeah.
with us. But he really gave me a big opportunity. But so many things have happened, and but I do have an anecdote. I remember doing my first trip to the leading my first group to the Amazon, which was a similar
Hmm.
case. They needed someone to replace someone, a leader, and so I took this group to the Amazon, the Peruvian Amazon.
Hmm.
And of course, I told him in the Amazon, it's very warm, it's very hot. This was short trip, very warm, very
Yeah.
hot. Don't worry, take your t-shirts and go with shorts and that, and long pants, long sleeve shirts because of the mosquitoes, but it's going to be warm.
Yeah.
And there's a phenomenon in the Amazon that at certain times of the year, it's called friaje, the cold winds. They come from Patagonia, cover
Yeah.
all of Brazil, and they enter the Amazon, and temperatures
Hmm.
can drop extremely low. And I
Wow.
had no idea. Gladly this happened. Of course, this group didn't like me that much. It was many years. If any of them are here listening, I am so sorry I was a young kid, but that taught me that never, and something that I repeat in the office to the team and the leaders that work with us and guides,
Yeah.
don't assume anything. Double test, check everything 3, 4, 5 times. You have the
Right.
lives and not only the pleasure, the experience, the satisfaction of our guests, but also their safety. And we
Hmm.
never leave. Since then, that I think I was 20 years old. Since then,
Yeah.
everything gets triple checked, and we scout every single destination every year on every kind of weather.
Yeah. Because that's how it works, right? Once something like this happens, every other time you're just being reminded of it. I have to check so I don't experience the same thing. But I'm sure it's a story for them too. So they're probably just telling it as a joke to friends and family.
Hopefully,
That's
hopefully.
awesome.
Gladly, I got some blankets. We took them on the
Yeah.
river because we had to take this 4 a.m. boat ride from
Oh
this remote
wow.
lodge down. So we were freezing. We had to turn back, get some
Yeah.
blankets, and get everyone covered. But it was a funny story that taught us a lesson very
Yeah.
early in our career. And I actually thank it because that said pace that we need to double check everything, and that's how we've done, and that's why we have
Yeah.
a gladly a very good satisfaction from our guests since then.
Yeah, and it's just nature, as much as there is certain area where temperature is always this kind or always very warm or always very cold, things happen like sometimes
Yes.
very like last moment and unpredictable. I even remember last year when I went to Alaska, I was prepared for the coldest temperature that I was ever going to experience, and I landed there and it was like unusually warm for Alaska, and they literally closed the season a couple of days early because the snow started melting. And
Oh,
I got this period of it was my luck just getting there on a very like weird time, but I was prepared for, the cold and got surprised by warm. In your case was the opposite, but things like this happen even at destinations where
they do.
it's usually always certain, you never know, it's to nature, right?
And especially nowadays, no, the weather patterns are
Mhm.
changing
Mhm.
everywhere, which makes our job a little harder with what was, the seasons, the shoulder seasons, and it's going to be warm.
Yeah.
It's changing the patterns of rain all over the planet. It's a reality. And it recently happens, Patagonia, we do a lot of Patagonia, and it gets
Mhm.
warmer and warmer every year to a point that a hotel that has central heating, and so they have to open the beautiful hotel that we use there, but we had to tell them to turn off the system, which was difficult on the first
Wow.
season because of the temperature. It was just too hot, too warm.
Too hot. Well, you're right. It's just changing everywhere. But I know you have probably thousands of memories from different expeditions and stuff. But can you think of one that is more memorable? Not necessarily as a destination, maybe something happening during the expedition, maybe the group of people who are there. When you think of your favorite expedition, maybe, or one of your favorites, what comes to mind?
That is a very difficult question, but we are very
I'm sure.
lucky. But we are very lucky with the kind of travelers that we have. Gladly, lots of them, they have been traveling with us for many years. Some of them, even before I created New Paths Expeditions, some of them have
Wow.
been with us for 25, 27 years. So they know me since I was
Amazing.
young, or and they have
Yeah.
become friends between each other. We call them the families. Some of us, and we have a lot of guests, but there's this
Mm-hmm.
group of this 4 or 5 groups that have been traveling with us for that long, and gladly they take 2 or more trips with us every year. So that it's truly family. We on Christmas, my computer will be open and people will be calling and saying hi. Now with WhatsApp, it's much easier,
Yeah.
but it used to be the computers. And so that friendship is fantastic. But if I have to mention it, there's something very special for me, of course, because of with Papua New Guinea. It's a
Mm-hmm.
destination that I have this year. It's going to be my third. Well, I just finished the 30th year going there every year, except in the years of the pandemic. And they are very unique people, very unique destination. And I'm an honorary member of 2 clans. So I really have this particular love. So when they ask me which is my favorite destination, I will say Papua New Guinea is the most interesting one. It's the most difficult one
Mm-hmm.
as a guide or as a leader. It has its challenges. It's a completely different world, but
Yeah.
certainly it is one of the most fascinating ones. The other one is the most beautiful one, and I would say I believe that Patagonia is the most beautiful place on earth, in my opinion. And then
Yeah.
every expedition is different. I am very lucky. I get to repeat, and my colleagues and that are part of my
Yeah.
team, we get to repeat a lot of destinations, and every trip is different. Not only because of the guests that we have, but the destination
Mm-hmm.
always provides something new. And so I would say that the greatest trip that we are that I like is the one that I'm doing at the moment, or that's coming.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you ever get like tired of a place? Do you ever think like, "Oh, I've been there so many times, like I'm okay if I don't go for a while?"
Yeah. Not really. Not really. And photography helps a lot with that. I did 400 weeks at a period of my life. I ran 5 ships in the Amazon. And so I
Mhm.
spent a lot of time there, and I spent a total of 400 weeks there.
Wow.
40 in Cuba for a time. I don't do Cuba anymore for several
Hmm.
reasons, but Cuba or Patagonia, I spent a long time. And sometimes it can get a little repetitive after 400 weeks. But what
Yeah.
helped a lot is photography, the thing of
Mm.
looking always for the newest species, the lights and the right angle and those surprises, and then the migrants, and you start understanding. And when you're traveling and you're going from one destination to another in different continents in the same period, you're jumping from here to North America and then going to Asia, and
Yeah.
you start seeing how they migrate and what they. So that connecting the dots really helps. Photography has been a major help. I'm always happy to be out there with my camera, even if it's a place that I have been again 400 weeks.
Yeah. Interesting. And to go on an expedition, it takes a little bit of different type of traveler, I believe. There are people who prefer to just, walk in a city environment, kind of have everything one hand away, if you want to say that. What do you think takes in a person to be the type of traveler who would really enjoy an expedition, who would be ready? Because you, to extent, need some kind of, preparation. You need to be aware of uh how you would feel and like what you're comfortable with. What do you think takes in a person to be that type of traveler?
Curiosity
Yeah.
is something that really drives people towards expedition travel, wanting to see and wanting to learn more. Normally, our guests are highly educated. They are very interested, very curious, and that's why drive them towards this. At the beginning, we did a lot of natural history because that's where I came from.
Mm-hmm.
Before after mountain guiding, I became a naturalist. But I'm a Peruvian. I was have for us, yes, archaeology is extremely important, and I like
Yeah.
food also quite a bit. So our expeditions, we don't go just to see birds. We go to the remote destinations. We try to provide an experience for that our guests an holistic view of the destination. Know what the destination has to give. And if it's more wildlife, well, that's what we're going to do mostly. But if there's also archaeology, so we try to balance things. Where I'm trying to go
Mm-hmm.
is that if I get to um, uh, uh, put name my guests in a way, I would say they are Renaissance people. They really
Mm-hmm.
like the arts and the nature and the culture and the modern history and the past history, curiosity about everything and being able to understand the destination. That doesn't mean that, for example, in Australia right now, we do this wild Australia expedition because lots of people have already been, and the language, there's no language barrier.
Yeah.
So people can go to Sydney and Brisbane and do it on their own. And
Mm-hmm.
we provide the extensions and city tours and all that. But we concentrate in Australia mainly in wildlife and the original people's culture.
Yeah.
That's what we will go. But for example, in the stands in the Silk Road, that's a balance of everything. As it is with Peru, for example, it's a balance
Yeah.
of everything because that culture, the nature, the archaeology, it's all there. We have to do it all. So it all depends on the destination.
I see. And what would you say to someone who really wants to go, but they're like uncertain of like the conditions, if they will be able to, bear with everything? Because I assume there are different
Thank you.
levels of like average, moderate, like for beginners, for example. If someone wants to start with expeditions, what is your advice? How should they start? How should they maybe prepare themselves a little bit to know what to expect?
Well, there are two ways of doing it. Doing it on your own, as normally young people will do it, and then
Mm-hmm.
the other way is to take an organized expedition that will take care of all the variables before you go. Water supply, safety, the level of walking, how hard the walking is going to be. We
Mm-hmm.
have our contacts, so if we know that somebody has an issue with walking, we will get them close to the main house room at the hotel. So all this little, we worry about all this. So that's makes much easier. We have guests that go all the way. We don't do big hiking anymore. We have a section in
Mm-hmm.
the company that it's for active travelers, but our general expeditions actually are a great fit for families. I have up to 3 generations traveling with us, from grandkid, parents, and grandma and grandpa are on
Amazing.
the same trip, and the kids will like to go. You see, we have the ratio guest guide ratio. I believe it's the best one in the US right now. So we
Mm-hmm.
can take, okay, so if someone wants to do a little bit more walking, well, the local guide can go and the leader will stay with the others. We call them the hard walkers and the Johnny Walkers, no? That were to make a
The
joke,
Johnny Walkers.
they work at the Johnny Walkers. Huh? So we walk a little bit slower. So we try to accommodate and design the trips that fit for everyone. Let's remember,
Mm-hmm.
we're not our kind of expeditions. We go to learn, to see and experience new cultures and new wildlife, and not to intervene. On our walks, we are looking for the wildlife. We are analyzing the orchids. So really, going into long walks that are very, very difficult is not what we do.
Mm-hmm.
Expedition travel is not that. Expedition travel is to take it slow and go and analyze and experience. Sometimes people believe that, oh no, we need to get on a raft and cover tremendous amounts of distance and then get in on a
Yeah.
four-wheel drive and climb a mountain. And yes, we do that, but we do it slowly. So everyone can.
Yeah. That's amazing because it opens this experience to so many people who
So
don't feel confident. And the fact that you said people bring their kids, and that's amazing experience for someone who wants to travel, with family members, it makes it even more special. And I'm curious to hear, separate from expeditions and when you travel for work, if I can say that, what is your way of traveling when you travel for, of course, expeditions are also pleasure, but when you travel for your personal pleasure, what are you as a traveler?
well, and 2 days from now, I'm leaving with my daughter to a wonderful, secluded beach that I love to go. And I love to relax there, and I cook and I fish. But it's whale season. So we're going to take some photos of whales.
Yeah.
Photography, it's important for us. And I have this joy now of being the single parent of a 12-year-old. She's going to be 13 very soon. And she has been traveling with me for quite a while. She already has 4 continents in her passport. So
Awesome.
now it's a project. It's showing her as much as possible and going to India and spending 2 months and then enjoying our wonderful trips there and our expeditions, but also then backpacking a little bit with her, making sure that she carries her own weight and take advantage of this wonderful educational opportunity that travel brings to kids. And that has become a passion, and that's what we do on our private time.
Yeah,
Showing
that's
Josefina
amazing.
of much of the world and in a
Yeah.
responsible manner, and that she becomes a confident person. So that's the project.
Yeah, and it's the best education you can give your children, I
Great.
believe. It's just something that it's very hard, if not even impossible, to learn in school. Doesn't matter how good the education system is, it's just things that if you don't interact with them, if you don't see them in person, and if you don't experience them, no school will teach you those things. So that's amazing. And I'm so happy for you and for your daughter that you get to experience this
Thank you.
together. Is there a place that you are really excited to take her and share with her, like a favorite place of yours that she hasn't been to, and you are really excited to just visit this
Um,
place together?
Well, I can think about two right now, but one, I'm going to sound repetitive, but I'm in love with this place, Papua New Guinea.
That's
The
that's
hardest,
okay.
but
It's just
most interesting
yeah.
one. And they have the Mount Hagen Sinsin, the biggest tribal gathering in the world. You're
Mm-hmm.
talking between 60 and 120. We never know how many. About 50, 40 representatives of each clan, for
Oh
60 to
wow.
120 tribes. They get together with all, and they decorate themselves with the feathers of birds of paradise and their paint. And people think that they are decorated sometimes when they see that they do it for tourists. Very few tourists
Mm-hmm.
go. This is a local event, national event.
Yeah.
And it's one of the most amazing experiences, and the smell, every single sense. It's bombarded.
Yeah.
It's overwhelming, but it's fascinating. And then we love horses, and she loves horses. She's a very good rider. So Mongolia. Mongolia was one of our first
Wow.
destinations. So
Yeah.
I have this trip planned that I really want to. We do the Nadam Festival in the Gobi
Mm-hmm.
Desert, and that's something that I think it's a tradition there, and they do the wrestling, bow and arrows, and horseback riding. And then
Yeah.
I would love to take her on after experiencing all that with our groups, take a multi-day trek on horses.
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
a
She
dream.
would be excited if she's a rider, if she loves
Oh
horses.
yes,
That's like the dream.
but there are
Amazing.
so many.
Yeah.
Egypt with the horses,
Yeah.
so many.
Yeah.
Gladly,
But
we have
that's
a
good
fun
because
planet.
yeah, it gives you more opportunities, like more destinations to take her to. And
Yes,
for Papua New Guinea, I talk to people, and a lot of people are even left with the impression that it's, not just not advised to travel there, but it's almost like prohibited. Can you share a few maybe misconceptions of the destination, things that are kind of like popular but are not completely true, don't completely match the reality, something that can give people more information about the destination itself?
of course, it's again, it's a fascinating destination, but it's a difficult one. And yes, it's not a place that I would advise for to go backpacking all over. It has become
Hmm.
much better in recent years, but there are certain areas that I think that an organized trip is something that it's needed in Papua New Guinea for safety reasons. Papua New Guineans are fantastic people, but the culture is so different to Western ways of seeing the world that the cultural shock, if you're traveling on your own, there's certain things that for them won't be bad, but for us, this part of the world, it could be a little bit difficult. So I advise that it's always with an organized trip. That's the first thing that I have to say. But you see, of all the 6,000 languages that exist in the world, 800 exist in Papua New Guinea. So
I've
that
heard
that you
something
can be
similar. I wasn't sure if it's true, but thank you for sharing
yes.
because that confirms.
See,
Yeah. Wow.
so the cultural diversity is tremendous. And also, Papua New Guineans were some of the first, together with the Omo Valley people in Ethiopia, people in Papua New Guinea, and a few other places. They are the ones that compete. Is where agriculture first started. One of these
Hmm.
places is Papua New Guinea. So they were the most advanced humans, or some of the most advanced humans in a certain moment of time. But it is true now that Papua New Guineans have very well educated people. But in the remote areas that we explore, there's a lot of people that still have beliefs and ways of seeing the world in Stone Age era.
Hmm.
It's Stone Age people with a cell phone, right? It's a clash
Yeah.
of cultures that we are seeing that is happening now. Papua New Guinea also in the recent year has changed a lot through the 30 years that I've been going. They found natural resources, quite a bit of them. So the country has received a lot of funds. And gladly they are investing them in roads, mobile communication. It's almost all over. I thought I would have never seen that. It is fantastic. But
Wow.
the speed that they're getting all these roads and communication, it's very, very fast. So you have people that still believe in sorcery, have very
Hmm.
unique beliefs, that still dress and in very in local ways, but they have a cell phone and they have communication. There's probably
Yeah.
the most interesting documentary that I have ever seen. That is called, and I highly
Ooh.
recommend it to anyone interested in anthropology. That is called First Contact. Look for First Contact Papua New Guinea. It is in YouTube
Okay.
right now. Before it was very difficult to get, but it's online now, and that's in the 1937. I'm sorry, the exact year might, but something like that. Um,
Hmm.
Two, Papua New Guinea, of course, was known, but three brothers, the Leahy brothers from Australia, went looking for minerals to the central highlands of Papua New Guinea, which were believed to be uninhabited. But they found 1 million people living in the Stone Age, and they carried a
Wow.
film camera. They filmed it all, and this clash of cultures that Columbus with Americas and all this was filmed, and then they found these
Wow.
recordings. And in 1985, a team they went to Papua New Guinea and they found the now elder people because when this was filmed, and they found them and they asked them, so when this was filmed, what did you believe was happening? So it's a fascinating document, and it is to those some of those cultures in the mountains that we get to visit. We are on our expedition. We are the only ones, gladly, and we go to the really remote headwaters of the Pacific. That's a tropical rainforest in this very
Hmm.
unique, odd-looking ship, and we look for the crocodile man and woman. They scarificate their bodies to resemble their totem, which is the crocodile, and they have the spirit houses where they keep their spirits. Then we
Hmm.
go to the highlands and we meet the Huli Weekmen, that they grow their hairs to make these weeks, everyday weeks and ceremonial weeks, and they decorate all based in sorcery, and it's done until today. And then we go to Mount Hagen to experience the Mount Hagen scene and also see the Melpa people and a lot of this. And all of this is mixed with birding for birds of paradise, which is, they are the
Yeah.
most beautiful, unique species of bird, and it's a delight to do it. So it's a fantastic expedition. Plus, of course, no, we go to the city. I'm sorry, I explained the trip, but I love it so much. I
No,
will
no,
never
no.
stop.
It's perfect because I'm fascinated by everything that I'm not aware of, and it just sounds like something that every traveler with a long bucket list should have there. It's just an
Yes,
experience that might sound a little not scary but uncomfortable to some people first, but if you have enough information from people like you, I think it's just the right move to, like you said, go in a group, go with people who have been there multiple
correct.
times. They know how to deal with everything. You will feel way safer and you don't have to think of all the complications that someone else already figured out. So thank you for sharing all of this, and everyone go watch First Contact. Full story. That was very interesting.
One last thing about Papua New Guinea,
Yeah,
going to your
please.
question, logistics of getting to these kind of places, it's all done by charter planes, small charter
Mm-hmm.
planes. So the
Yeah.
safety of those planes and the cost of those planes, it's better to split them among a group
Mm-hmm.
and between a group. Every expedition starts with the same speech, but there's nowhere that it's more true than in Papua New Guinea. We always start. This is an expedition. It's not a tour. It's not that thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you how things will go, and they will not go. At least once, they will not go as planned. That's why it's an expedition, and there's nowhere else. This is true in Papua New Guinea. And understanding the ways locals deal with different situations, it's a little tricky for Western ways of thinking. And the last is that our trips, every year when I started doing this, we were okay in using basic accommodations here and there, not so experienced travelers. Now the expectations of all of us, because of the quality, safari camps are now super upscale, and we have this.
Yeah.
So every year, I have seen it through this 3 decades doing this, that the standards of hotels have increased tremendously, and our expectations also. So we are kind of a
Mm-hmm.
little bit on the upscale side. We love to go out and experience all this, but enjoy these beautiful properties also. But in Papua New Guinea, we have secured the best hotels, very few inventory. Only 7 companies in the world have spaces for the Mount Hyatt scene. We are one of them,
Wow.
but don't expect luxury. Don't expect
Yeah, of
luxury.
course.
It's
For some
but it's comfortable.
destinations,
Yes,
yeah. And that was actually part of my next question. I'm curious to hear, you have a long, long experience, many years in the field, many years in the industry. When you look back to your maybe first years doing expeditions to nowadays, what is the biggest change you see, maybe even in people who are coming to the expeditions? I know the digital part is big part of the whole change, which is like people using more devices, wanting to stay connected more. But for example,
correct.
like the accommodation you just shared, it with time passing, people just expect kind of like not luxurious things, but like upscale things. So what is another change you have noticed throughout the whole course of your career?
Well, well, definitely the standards of accommodations of service, not only they have increased, but the expectations of people, the generations,
Mm-hmm.
they have changed. Even the same people that I used to see it, and I remember, well, she's making this comment about this hotel, but this is 10 times better than that hotel we used 15 years ago, and she loved it, right? So
Yeah.
the expectations, even of even my own, because that's the current standard. Of course,
Yeah.
communication. It's something that I wrote an article not long ago about this. The beginning of this year, I took. I'm always traveling, but this was I went to covered 4 continents in 1 month, and so I was going, coming, and going. And something that I love about flying is that this disconnection, complete disconnection, no internet. There's no
Mm-hmm.
way. Whatever problem, your life stands still, and I call it the
Yeah.
tube. Just go through the tube, right? And I love
Yeah.
that. But that month of travel, every single flight had connection. So
Mm-hmm.
that beauty
It's how it
of
is nowadays.
isolation is going away, and that is something that really makes me sad. But there's
Mm-hmm.
another thing that I really like. I love food. And before in Peru, in Thailand, they will cook without flavor and spices for tourists. So in order to be
Mm-hmm.
safe and that everybody will be
Yeah.
okay, and if you want to add more salt, that would be so. Food in the tourism industry was very bland and very boring, and
Yeah.
now is fantastic. That has changed
Right. The
completely,
opposite.
and everyone want to showcase their countries and their. So I love that change.
Back to the internet, I think that you mentioned, I completely agree with you. And I think part of me always getting excited to get on a plane, at least in the past, was I know no one's gonna find me. I know I'm offline. My phone is not gonna ring. I'm not gonna get notifications. I work on a computer for many hours a day, and it's just my short time to be offline. And I really enjoyed it. You start getting notifications, you're able to connect. And maybe for a long flight, that makes sense. And of course, people who work and have meetings, they operate a business, they cannot afford being offline basically. But
Hmm.
sometimes it's just wow, like this was the only time when I knew no one could reach me, and now
Claro.
it's just different, and your little offline time is kind of gone. So I agree with you, that's one of the things that makes me a little sad, because you literally cannot go anywhere anymore
No
just to say, oh,
kidding.
I
Yeah.
didn't have service, oh, you couldn't reach me, like there's no excuse like this anymore. And it's, yeah, it's a little sad. We should kind of learn how to disconnect at least for a little bit from time to time, especially for people
Yes.
who like spend a lot of time on a computer and communicating and everything. The food also, I agree with you. Maybe in the past they were trying to make it comfortable for tourists, not to get them like something like food poisoning or something really uncomfortable. Now it's like, this is the spices, this is the taste, like you should try
Mhm.
the real things. And that's amazing.
No, and the standards of cooking, because one of the things that we do and we worry a lot, I'll tell you, I've consulted several hotels, camps in Africa, about safety for guests. And one of the most important
Mm-hmm.
things is food safety. Now the standards almost globally. We do a lot of Madagascar. And I remember when I started doing Madagascar, 27, 25 years ago, it was a challenge. It was very difficult. And I had to, sometimes I remember going in and cooking myself and deep frying everything because of safety standard. Today, you have foie gras, oysters, and caviar that is being produced in Madagascar. And when you
Yeah.
enter the we enter the kitchens of every single restaurant and we check them professionally. It's a lot of destinations. At the beginning, I used to do it. Now we have our guides and they receive their training to go and scout these restaurants and hotels and sometimes the small restaurants on the road because we are crossing the Atlas Mountains in Morocco or whatever. And
Yeah.
we check them all. And honestly, that part of the job has become much easier because before it was no one passed the test 20 years ago. Nowadays, it's basically everybody. People know how to do it, know the procedures, know how to disinfect things, how to keep things clean. And that's probably because of the part of it, because of technology, internet access to information. And
Mm-hmm.
I imagine that has had a big impact and the work and effort of the
Mm-hmm.
governments, of course.
Yeah, I can see how even like social media can very, very much influence that with all the reviews, all the feedback you leave after you visit a certain place. Like nowadays, you cannot really afford having bad reviews because this is going to ruin your business. And then you're not going to get more groups, you're not going to get more tourists. So everyone wants to pretty much be the best version of their
Good
business
point.
to make sure that whatever people share on the internet will make more people visit. I totally agree
Correct.
with that. Is there anything, any part of traveling, except for the offline that we already talked about, that you dislike? Anything that you dislike, even a little bit, anything that you're not looking forward, if it's part of like the transportation experience or something else, do you have anything that you dislike about traveling? I'm curious.
Well, TSA lines when the airports are full. No one likes those.
Okay, fair
but
enough. Yeah.
but I remember after the pandemic, and I will always complain about this. And then after the pandemic, on my first international flight, I hugged the TSA guy. I said, "I missed you guys." No, I went, even
Yeah.
though I always complained about it. But yes, that's the reality. But the good thing is that now we have the new technology in most airports. Now it's starting to change, not
Mm-hmm.
everywhere, but now we have these scanners. We don't have to take laptops out. We don't have to take our shoes off. Just
Mm-hmm.
that's getting better.
Yeah.
Progress is coming.
I think a lot of the advanced technologies allow us to be kind of like calm during the airport experience. The only thing that I don't like from the airport experience, and it's not necessarily airport more than like immigration, it's the fact that most of the countries, they don't stamp your passport anymore. And I feel
Anymore.
very sad about this because it's like, it's almost taken away a souvenir that was supposed to be yours. I'm really sentimental about souvenirs or some small things bringing from vacation, bringing from a place that I may never go back to because you never know. And this felt like some really good achievement
Yes.
that you're going to have in your passport. I know people who literally didn't give up their previous passports even after they expired. They just claimed them as lost or stolen and
Mhm.
paid a fee just to be able to, keep the
Okay.
actual passport with the stamps as a souvenir. I would totally do that too. But nowadays it's like, digital and we don't get to experience the real stamp.
I,
It's rare. It still happens, but I miss it.
I agree. It was like, now it was an issue also when you travel a lot and then you filled up the passport and you will. I remember asking,
Yeah.
"Hey, please, can you put it in that same page?" So keep help me save
Yeah. A
pages.
little bit of
But
room.
there are there's some destinations that they will stamp your passport. It's not an official stamp, but it's a great idea.
Yeah.
I need to think about it. Maybe getting some stamps for our different destinations. I think that might be something interesting for our guests. Great idea. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I might copy it.
Oh, please. No, I always think about it because it's a great way to replace the official one. Even if it's like you said, it's not completely legit. It's just still a memory and it doesn't bother anyone to be in your actual passport. I remember I think from Santa Claus house in Alaska, I have like a Santa Claus house stamp on my passport. It's not legit. It's not for immigration, but it doesn't bother anyone.
Correct.
It can be there. I would take it if it's a souvenir type of thing.
It's a classic in Antarctica, no? So yes, yes,
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
it's a great
definitely.
idea. And then talking about that, if you don't mind, I remember something that I miss.
Yeah.
It's some places you still can do it, but it's difficult when some guests requested that the following, which is sending postcards.
Thank you.
That was great, right? And especially for I have this 100-year-old grandma, yeah, she's still with
Yeah.
us, right? It's really great, and she was accustomed for me sending her postcards, and now she
Yeah.
doesn't get them, and she's upset with me, and she complains, "Where are my
Oh.
postcards?" Especially because there was one story. One time we were it was in Easter Island, and I sent her a postcard from Easter Island. It took 6 months for it to arrive. No, I thought it was lost, but it made it 6 months. Eventually, it
But
did.
he made it, yeah. That's amazing. And I said thank you for saying that because I love postcards and I like my friends joke with me like, "Oh, you're like a grandma." I'm like, I'm okay with that. I love my postcards.
Yeah,
Everywhere I go, I always buy five. One for me, one for my parents, one for my sister's family, one for my coworkers from my last job in Bulgaria, and one for friends in Massachusetts. It's always
beautiful,
five. I always
beautiful.
send them, and there is something that will never replace a postcard. It doesn't matter. They're going to see 1,000 of photos, whatever I post, or I can send them photos. I can tell them so many stories, but this little value in this postcard, it's so hard to replace. And I even started
Correct.
like collecting my own. I just got like a little hook, like a metal hook, and I started perforating them and putting them on this hook. Now I have about like, I don't know, maybe
Good idea.
60 or 70. I don't have from all my destinations, but it's a really, really nice way to keep them without having to maybe put them on a wall. And I find it really upsetting when there are destinations that I cannot find postcards because there are some. I first thing I
Yes,
can think of, Mexico and Bolivia. I couldn't find any postcards, specifically in Bolivia. People literally were like, "We have never had this," or maybe it's been years, and I felt so bad because it wasn't just for my little collection, but I'm like, "Wow, well, maybe there's
very.
no demand, so people just don't make them
That's
anymore."
the problem.
But yeah, that's another thing. I
But it's a
agree with
custom
you.
that should get back. But it's so difficult. Sometimes we try and we find some, and then the post office, there's only one. It's an hour
Yeah,
away, right? Because
true.
we really want to help you, but it's an hour drive to get to that place. So
Yeah,
we
yeah,
try, we look for ways to help them. But it's sad. It's something that it was, and it's such a warm touch. Somebody remembered you while
it
they
is.
were, I was there. No,
Absolutely.
they were there. So
Yeah, like
it's
you
sad.
thought of someone while you were
It's
experiencing
sad.
this cool thing, and it's just way more than any other present. And even at destinations where you cannot physically mail them from there, I have had cases when I would bring them home and I would just mail them from here, but
Nothing from
the
good one.
actual postcard still comes from the destination. So
Very
sometimes,
good.
you gotta do what you gotta do just for the
Good
sake of
one.
the present. And hey, one more idea. Maybe you guys can have postcards to give out to people
That
from the expeditions as a little souvenir. That would be, you know,
we used to as a pre-departure package. We really worry about our
yeah,
pre-departure packages and information, and of course there's water bottles, so T-shirts, and a book, a
nice.
map, and we used to include the postcards. But then we had the problem. So where do we mail them from? But yeah,
Yeah,
it's a good idea maybe to mail them. So that has started to become an issue.
yeah.
But maybe we should bring
Had
it
to
back, or
exclude
at
it.
least for certain destinations.
At least for the destinations, you know that there's something close around to mail it from. And let us know what is left for the rest of the year. What are the expeditions that you're gonna go to for the rest of the year? Maybe even in 2026. If any of my listeners want to take a look, what is the website? How
Thank you.
can they contact you? What is the first step for someone to do to start on this great adventure?
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, it's NP as New Paths, npexpeditions.com. I hope you come. The website is there. There's a lot of information. As I tell you, it's 68 destinations right now, but very soon it's going to 73, 74. I've lost that. But we're doing a new change on the website. So if you go now and you go in like 3 or 4 weeks, you're going to see a lot of changes. So
Yeah,
and I think they're going to be fun. Um, but what we are doing, again, we have around 70 destinations around the world: Central America, South America, Africa, from West Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, Ethiopia, all the way down to the Safari Africa and all of those destinations. Asia and Oceania, we call it Australasia.
Hmm.
and our trips are very, very complete. And then we have group departures and private departures. And now all of our departures are going to be, since next month, they're going to be guaranteed departures and then multiple dates, which is something
Okay.
great that we have been working quite a bit.
Yeah.
In my case, I lead at least three, if not four, president expeditions every year. Usually they
Hmm.
are the first ones. I'm in charge of the product development, let's call it, for the design of the trips. And that's one of the things that I love most of my work, my office work, and we design and then
Yeah.
go scout it, deal the relationships with suppliers, hotels, governments, and launching all this destination is something that I'm really passionate about. I try to see it as an art form and I treat it like that.
Yeah.
So,
It
and
is.
the
It
first
is.
departures, the first departure I take, I lead it personally. I think it's very important in my position that I remain with the guides in the field with the guests to not lose perspective. And
Hmm.
I think it's very important. So I'm going to our first one in Europe. This is a new line that we have created, a little bit softer adventure, more upscale. It's a different line
Hmm.
from the expedition. And we're doing Andalusia, Madrid. We're going from
Ooh.
Granada to Seville on the Al Andalus train, which is fabulous. If you're going to go to that area, it's not super
Oh, I've seen
expensive and
it
it's
on
fun.
Instagram. Looks
It's
amazing.
it's marvelous. The service is incredible. I went to scout it, and they said, I'm not so sure. I think I have to do it again." And gladly they let me go the other way around.
Yeah.
That's how it is. I decided to stay. I didn't want to leave, and they were very kind to allow me during the scouting.
Love it.
So, and then we're staying in Seville. We do something in Madrid. And then in Seville, we stay for 3 extra nights. Sorry, 2 extra nights, 3 days, experiencing some unique things. That's where they do the habugo, to go to habugo, where they make the ham and they have the
Yeah.
horses and the bulls. We don't do bullfighting, of course, but the horses are simply amazing. We go to this ranch, of this very upscale ranch. It's a beautiful trip. Next year, I am doing personally, Wild Australia, that I think I mentioned
Hmm.
before during this expedition.
Yeah.
That's a 14-day expedition, and we go to the All Daintree Forest, the oldest forest in the world, Kangaroo Island, and Tasmania, with the National Geographic Society of Australia. They are not connected,
Okay.
but they are very, very important. Our guides come from that team. It's really an amazing natural history trip. And then the following one is that I'm leading is Papua New Guinea. And then I'm
Hmm.
doing, which I already mentioned quite a bit. I go every year. That's the one that
Yeah.
I don't leave. That's the only one that I repeat every year now. And then the last one is that we're new trip in the stands. We have been able to launch 3 stands Silk Road trip that is very, very complete. And normally people go in this very long drives with 12, 14-hour drives from one country to the other. It's a
Hmm.
little bit, and really the country has great, they have wonderful trains and good connecting flights between the countries.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. So we have revamped that program quite a bit. And I think we have a culinary, cultural, natural history full of unique events. Something, Evelina, that I have not mentioned yet is that something that differentiates our trips, and if you don't mind, if you allow me to mention it, is that
Yeah. Of course.
we lots of unique events and meeting luminaries in our expedition. So eventually
Hmm.
we ran out of remote destinations and we started to do more mainstream, like for example, Egypt. It's remote, but
Yeah.
people have been going for many years. Or Peru, the same
Hmm.
thing. Galapagos, the same thing. But in our case, we try to add. We do it really different. And something that we're very proud of is the unique events and the luminaries we had. So a few examples is, for example, when we do Egypt in a group, we close the Great Pyramid and we arrive at 5 a.m., 5:30 a.m. We will wake them up early, but for a very unique experience. And
Yeah.
the Great Pyramid is opened exclusively for us. They open a shaft for us. And then Sahi Hawass, the most important Egyptologist of all times, probably. He's very famous. I'm pretty sure you have seen him on TV. He's
Hmm.
waiting
Yeah.
for us as the Sphinx as sun rises with coffee and cookies, a 5-minute lecture there before all the tourists
Wow.
get in. Or in Peru, in the north of Peru, there's a trip that invite everybody to come to check. It's called Kingdoms of Peru. Everybody thinks of Peru about Machu Picchu, But the
True.
coast of Peru is like Egypt. It's a desert. And when the Spaniards arrived, there were 25 million inhabitants living here. And they have been living here because the population was big since before. 25 million inhabitants was the estimated population of the time after smallpox. So there's to remember that before the
Yeah.
Spaniards, smallpox arrived. So everything has been kept, that these beautiful textiles and temples and gold and silver and mummies all over Peru. And there's
Yeah.
one lord that's to me, it's an amazing program. I invite everyone to see it, and especially because of the food, the balance of nature, culture, archaeology, and living culture of today. It's fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
But there's one thing that's the Lord of Sipan, which basically is the Tutankhamun of the Americas. And the discoverer of the
Okay.
Lord of Sipan is a very close friend of ours. And he has his age and he loves beer. And so we take his favorite beer to his home with our groups. And he shares a beer. He starts telling us the story, how he found it, which it's a really nice anecdote. And then we have dinner
Wow.
with him and his wife. And he brings his friends and they make a peña, which is a music, guitar, and cajon and dances. And
Yeah.
it's wonderful. In Tikal, in Guatemala, another wonderful destination, Francisco Estrada Peli is the most important Mayan archaeologist right now related that works with Tulane University. And he is our guide when we go to Tikal for 3 days. And then I can tell about Fernando Angulo Pratalongo, the main ornithologist, most famous ornithologist of the world, or Ed Smith
Yeah.
as a naturalist in Madagascar. If we go to the Colón Theater in Buenos Aires, we have a former soprano that will take you not on the normal tour, but go on the back, and she will tell you gossip of who fell in love with who while during the plays and all this kind of thing. So we are all just
Yeah.
trying to build this new, unique events that we think that we build for our groups. That's something that I
Yeah.
really love doing. So I'm sorry I wanted to mention it because that's part of the core of what we do and how we do it.
Absolutely. These unique experiences that you cannot just go there and ask for something like this, or you don't even know what to ask for. So it's always great for someone to take you there and give you something that you're going to go back home and maybe you're going to talk to people who have been to that destination, but they have done the
Mhm.
main things. Like you said, when people go to Peru, they immediately think of Machu Picchu and the Rainbow Mountain. So when you say it's something like this, they're like, but wait, I didn't even know that. Well, sometimes you need the right people to introduce you to this experience. So
Thank you.
I really love the whole idea of you giving people those important culture stuff that I feel a lot of travelers, maybe not real travelers, I would say tourists really miss on. A lot of people go to see, really to see, but I've noticed that not many people actually read what's written. They don't ask many questions, and it's kind of sad because I'm sure behind every landmark there is so much more to know and to find out than just
Correct.
a small sign that it's put in front of it. So thank you for, bringing that to the travelers community. It's
Thank you.
incredible that you guys think of so many different ways to make people's experiences unforgettable. And I'm curious if someone is starting right now, if they're listening to this conversation, they're like, I want to try that. I want to go with them. What's the destination you would recommend for someone who has never been on an expedition to start with?
Oh,
I know you mentioned your kind of favorites like Patagonia, Papua New Guinea, Madagascar, from what I heard, is one of your favorites as well.
yes.
What would you recommend? Like, let's say you're starting right now with your preferences and your type of traveling. Which destination would you recommend for a first timer?
I would recommend that they ask themselves, what is it that they love? It's natural history. I think that everybody should love a little bit of everything and understand the countries that you
Yeah,
visit. But then select your destination based on what it's, do you like hiking and walking and natural and panorama photography? So probably Patagonia could be a good way to start. Are you you really like archaeology? Then Guatemala and Peru and go beyond Machu Picchu. I think that that's
yeah,
that's really important. Yeah, natural history, also the Amazon, it's something that is fantastic. And of course, if you love nature and you have not done safari, even though the prices are quite high nowadays, to be honest, it's
they
a
are.
caramba. It's that's big change that has happened in the world. But there are some options. Of course, doing safaris, it's something that it's fascinating, and I would certainly recommend it. If you are beginning also, Galapagos and the cruises in Galapagos are something that you can
Ecuador,
start
yeah.
learning a little more and get you in the expedition mode. So there's a little bit for everything for everyone. Now, if you are, and I'm sorry to mention, but we have expedition advisors at New Paths Expeditions. That's exactly what they do. They start talking with people that are first time travelers or they have done
Hmm.
a lot. And now we have both. We have those that have done nothing and they because so how do we
Yeah.
start, and we try, and I have my family or the parents or grandparents have traveled but they have the kids, where should I begin? So we start a conversation to try to advise them the best, and then we have the others that already did everything and now what do I do? And I want to keep on traveling, it's part of my life.
Yeah.
I've already done the Amazon 4 times, Patagonia 3 times, I've been to Peru 5 times. We get a lot of those in our company because we
Oh,
do
I'm sure
things
with so many
differently.
regular customers, sounds like they literally just exhausted all the options. But
So
you guys have an incredible variety.
we are here to help. Our advisors are great. I'm also around, and it would be fantastic to start the bug. Hopefully, with your program here, start the bug
Yeah.
of some new expedition travelers for the future. It would be fantastic.
Honestly, it's so hard to listen to you and not get the bug if you don't have it yet. Like,
Okay.
if that doesn't make someone to want to go, I don't know what will. I only have one question before we wrap up the episode, and I'm really interested to hear the answer. What would your life be if you weren't traveling? Have you thought of this? Like, who would Jorge be nowadays if the travel was not part of your experience?
Without a doubt, a cook.
Because you mentioned you're a foodie, right?
I love food. I'm actually, I grew up in a restaurant, and I studied professional. I first studied hotel management with cuisine specialization, then business
Yeah.
management, and so that's what I started to study, and then this rock climbing bug, and then I became a guide, because I wanted to go there, and then just so hard to say because I think I always knew what I wanted to do, and I'm very lucky to be able to do what I wanted to do. So I'm
Yeah.
very, very lucky. But when I'm at home, I'm cooking. Just last week, we had 30 persons here, and more than cooking all the time.
Anytime. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for everything you shared with me
Oh,
and my
thank you,
audience. I really appreciate that you went into details and how informative you made this whole conversation. Is there anything you would like to share as a final? Any trips you guys you have available spots for someone who maybe decides last minute? I'm gonna leave a link to the website, but any other
thank
way
you,
we can find you or anything you
thank you.
wanna mention?
Thank you so much. I just want to thank you and your audience for taking the time, and it's been a lot of fun. Thank you so much. I do want to mention, since you give me the opportunity, that we have this line of upscale European kind of trips with a lot of content and learning and enjoying. But we are about to launch something that I think is quite interesting that are called the escapes. That's how we're calling them. And they are for my age, and they're 40, 50. We are still working,
Hmm.
but we have little time. A lot of the kids and grandkids of our regular guests have requested this. So they are usually
Okay.
Saturday to Saturday. So you only have to take 5 days of the week off. And we are organizing them in the Americas with Greenland also. So there's also going to be
Mm,
a Greenland, so that we stay no jet lag, because you pay very little, right? We stay
yeah.
in the same time zone,
Same time
and we
zone.
go and it goes straight to what you like to do. So if you're a hiker, we have 5 destinations for hiking that are really fantastic with wonderful hotels. And this is for those who really want to go there and do the 6, 7 hours a day and then arrive to this wonderful hotel for a great meal, great wine, and a massage. And then you take Saturday to Saturday, flying, leaving your city and returning to your city Saturday to Saturday. Culinary, family, those of us who have
Hmm.
young kids and we don't have much time to organize them, then bring your 2 kids, mom mom and dad and the two kids. So we are organizing culinary, family, and active escapes for the new trends. The way people are traveling and the limitations of time are going to actually make great sense. And also, it's not such a long trip. So costs
Mm-hmm.
are also not that high. So I think it's going to serve a group of travelers that don't have much offer nowadays, and we will
Yeah.
prepackage them so that the planning part of things doesn't become too challenging because that takes time too. So
Oh,
we're
yeah.
really creating this wonderful, unique itineraries for that demographic.
Wow. That's another amazing thing you guys have. And again, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time and everything you shared. Wish you all the best. And I'm sure the business will just keep getting better and better because you make people happy. And the fact that they keep
You're very
returning, that
kind.
speaks enough for you guys. Thank you for your time. And I will talk to you soon.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
So, guys, I'm sure after listening to this episode, some of you are already researching. Other people are probably on the New Paths Expeditions website trying to find a destination and book an expedition. It is how it works. It is very hard to listen to Jorge without getting this urge and desire to book something. I completely understand it. If he cannot get the travel bug in you going, I don't know what can. So that's why I encourage you all to go on the New Paths Expeditions website, which I'm gonna link in the description. See what they offer, pretty much everything, and maybe go on your first expedition. Jorge is someone that you can learn so much from that I feel like we can make maybe 10 more episodes and he will never even repeat himself. I gotta say, I feel truly honored to be able to sit down with someone like Jorge and ask my questions about his experiences and his trips. He is like an encyclopedia when it comes to traveling. Someone like him with so much experience in trips, there is so much to learn from. Go give some love to Jorge in the comments, follow him on Instagram, check out the website, and maybe contact their team for more questions for different expeditions. I will see you guys soon for the next episode, and until then, bon voyage!